Jordan Meemgen Mom has been MIA lately. What's the deal? Yeah, it turns out it was a chick, and we went on some dates, and then I ghosted her. So I think she lost interest.
Is that true?
No. All right, hey everyone, welcome back to the Barbell Medicine YouTube channel. I'm joined with Dr. Austin Baraki. We've got a special guest in-house for our training vlogs. We're gonna do a question and answer, and then we're also going to review some of your guys' technique on the lifts that you've submitted. If you wanna submit a question or your own form check, that information will be at the end of the video. Let's hop into the question right now. This is from Joseph Cleese. He asks, as a normal amateur powerlifter, I use wrist wraps, knee sleeves, and the occasional elbow sleeve. My question is, other than placebo and rebound for the sleeves, what role of compression of a joint, what role does compression of a joint play to enhance the performance in that lift compared to not using that piece of equipment? I've heard people give the usual answer of it provides support, but I've grown curious over the years as to exactly how the compression directly provides these enhanced performances during a lift. Baraki.
So you mentioned knee sleeves, occasional elbow sleeves, which are not usually allowed in powerlifting competition, as well as wrist wraps. So I think some of these need to be considered separately. So
let's start out with elbow sleeves.
Elbow sleeve. Well, I can probably just group the sleeves together. So something like an elbow sleeve and a knee sleeve. Obviously, sleeves can be bought at varying levels of tightness, various levels of fit to the person's arms or to their legs. And I think that most people who are planning to go to a high level of competition, they'll tend to get tighter sleeves than they would otherwise be able to use and tolerate kind of wearing for a whole training session. Probably the tighter of a sleeve you get, then maybe you do start to get a little bit more of that kind of elastic effect. I could maybe see something like that. It's certainly not going to be on the level that you would see out of something like a knee wrap, but I think the bigger effect that we're seeing is just you feel that kind of quote unquote support. You feel that compression, and it probably just results in you moving more confidently, which is probably more of a neurological, like you're alluding to, a placebo type effect.
Sure.
You might get some improved proprioception from the sleeves, which I think there's been some research on that in the context of neoprene sleeves for patients with osteoarthritis. But I think that the main thing is probably just that you move more confidently when you wear the things, if you've historically worn them in training and you believe that they give you this benefit.
For knee sleeves and elbow sleeves.
Yeah.
So I think the knee sleeves, there's some non-zero amount of like elastic effect that you get with,
particularly the tighter.
And the tighter it gets, it becomes a little bit more, but the amount of extra weight that it lets you lift due to that mechanical sort of effect, I think, is low.
Probably negligible.
The variance of the weight on the bar outside of competition calibrated plates is probably greater than the amount of weight that it's added via the tightest knee sleeve that you could potentially put on, even with a trash bag. And then I would argue that the energy required to
putting it on,
is probably negatively affects your training. That being said, there are some high level lifters who do that. I think that the biggest benefit of sleeves is psychological in both it's your normal like sort of routine. You're like, okay, we're gonna put this thing on, we're gonna get ready to train. That signifies now it is time to train particularly heavy, and sort of social learning, because the best heavy.
Yeah, you see everybody else wearing them.
Everybody else is wearing them, right? So you can go watch Mike Tushier's old videos where he's not wearing knee sleeves and he's squatting like
770.
Yeah, whatever. It is in a garage by himself with no music, and then you can feel bad about yourself. So I think that it's mostly placebo. I agree. The knee wrap would be different because there's mechanical energy being stored in the joint via the deformability or lack thereof of the actual wrap itself. The stiffer the wrap, the longer the wrap, the more revolutions around the knee, the more mechanical sort of energy you store there, which goes into springing out of the bottom.
But we talk about this a lot too, because everybody wants to ask us, does this thing work? Does that work? And everything, including knee wraps even, has a component of a placebo effect.
Oh, 100%. Everything.
In terms of confidence going into the lift and, things like that. So everything, every possible thing you can do to a person, assuming they're consciously aware of what you're doing, has a component of placebo and a component of something else.
You think comatose people have placebo effects?
I don't think so.
You think they do chiropractic manipulations on you? No, that's contraindicated. All right. So the last thing, I think he asked about wrist wraps as well.
Yeah.
I think that's a different category.
I do. That's what I was separating
Oh,
entirely.
yeah.
I mean, I think that if you have issues with, maintaining kind of alignment such that it supports your benching mechanics, your bar path, stuff like that, that wrist wraps can help with that.
Yep.
I think that people can be coached to be able to hold good, solid wrist alignment position for their, benching bar path efficiency. But if wrist wraps help with that, then that's all good.
Yeah, I agree.
And probably also a component of, same kind of stuff going on, confidence, getting ready to unrack and
100%.
hold a heavy bar in your hand and stuff like that too.
Yeah, funny. So yeah, we have a grip article about optimal grip mechanics in pressing. I'll link that in the description below. Also, our bench press video, I'll link that. It was interesting. I was training at Horn's place in LA, and with Tashir, and he was like casually gonna bench like 485 or something. He was like, "Yeah, my bench is going pretty well." And he's like, "Do you have any wraps that I can borrow? Because I don't have any."
Yeah.
And it was funny because all I had extra were these Titan wraps, and he puts them on, unracks it. It's like 485 or something. Just
Blow off. Yeah.
Because Titan makes
those are
terrible.
wraps.
Yeah. There you go. Let this be a lesson.
Yeah.
The last thing I will say about the elbow sleeves. So elbow sleeves in a bench press or press likely contribute some non-zero sort of elastic component, but in a squat that would be 100% placebo. And sort of more joint compression to alleviate pain from holding the barbell, similar to the knee sleeve, in the evidence that you have on OA osteoarthritis. So, should you use them? So this is the last thing we'll say. I don't know if you remember. There's an infographic from Active RX or you know what I'm saying? Active Life. What is it called?
Yeah, I remember who you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know what the thing's called. You know what it is? Active Life.
Active Life RX.
It's like some combination of those words. Anyway, and they're like, don't use wraps and belts and shoes and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, because, that's just Band-Aids. And it's like, well, not necessarily. They allow you to train more productively right now than anything else. Mm-hmm. And the long-term benefits of actual training right now outweigh, like, doing whatever remedial thing that you could do
which
would delay training,
which may not help.
Which is unlikely to help anyway, unless it's actually training. So it's just weird. And they were saying, don't use shoes. It's a Band-Aid for ankle mobility, but shoes don't increase your range of motion in your ankle. They just change the plane. Mm-hmm. Okay. Don't use knee sleeves because it's covering up this knee pathology that you have that you likely can't fix anyway, and you got to squat or train somehow. And the point really is, what is the benefit of telling people to not use these things? I don't see one.
Well, business.
Well, right. For us,
they're making the argument that don't use these things because we can fix these.
They're creating a problem to offer you a solution that you can buy on our website, link in bio. It just doesn't make much sense to me outside of that context. And so, when should you use these things? When you need them. And I think we're gonna use an arbitrarily sized barbell with arbitrary sized weights, and it's gonna we're gonna put it in weird positions and do arbitrary range of motion things with it. So we can use training tools to facilitate that in order to get the biggest ROI on our training. So I think you should use them if you need them, and if they make your training better.
Yeah.
Agree?
Agree.
Point, counterpoint. Okay. Moving on. All right, so we're going to get into some training videos. I can't pronounce nearly anybody's names, okay? So these are coming from somewhere in Europe. Victoria G, we'll call that. It may not be Victoria, but we're going to go with it. So first up, she's going to be squatting. This is 77.5 kilos. And so I'll weigh in, and then we'll rewatch the video and have Austin weigh in. That's the format. All right, so 77.5 kilos.
Not too bad.
Yeah, I agree. I think, this angle, we're a little bit below hip height. Yeah, depth looks good. You see that the shift, and so what it tells me, you got two options. You can either bend over more on the way down, or fight harder to keep your chest up. So let's watch that again, and Baraki can weigh in on this. Anything else?
Yeah, I think we see that when she initiates the squat, she has a tendency, it looks like, to want to unlock her hips before her knees. Yeah. So I would make that more simultaneous. Sometimes we over cue and tell people to break at the knees first, particularly on that third rep. You can see her sit back first, and the consequences for that on balance, shifting people back onto their heels. Watching the shoes is really helpful for that sort of thing. So, yeah, I'd want her to break at the hips and the knees at the same time.
Yeah, maybe you just cue or push the knees forward first. Yep, I agree. I concur. Do you concur? Why did I concur? All right, now this is her deadlifting. I think first I would have her move her gaze out and just keep a constant gaze the whole time. I'm just looking at her hips to see if they raise or lower prior to the bar leaving the floor. They don't. You see her back kind of wiggle a little bit, but, you know, I don't know if she was overdoing it from before. Let's see if we watch that again. It comes off her legs too, off the ground. I can see a little daylight. What do you think, Baraki?
I think the immediate thing I would fix is to get her eye gaze up. I think that would help her.
That'd probably help her keep her back in place. I agree. And it's not egregious, so you can train. You don't need to deload to the bar. Just, you know, move your eyes out, stay tight, and drag it up your legs.
Yeah, that looks pretty good, though.
Yeah, I like the shoes. All right. Now, the only reason that we're including this vertically formatted video, don't format your videos vertically, even for the gram. Landscape. It's because this is 205 kilos, and he is a competitive powerlifter. Let's see if I can butcher his name. Vebjorn A.
All right.
Cool. Maybe it's, you know, I bet you that's his last name. So it's A. Vebjorn?
Maybe. I don't know. We don't know what Norwegian first names or last names sound like.
That's also true. All right. Anybody have a hamburger? I'm the dumb American. All right, so this is 205. I wouldn't pull in socks, just in general. You know, I can't pull in socks at a meet, and you're obviously at a powerlifting gym, so I'd either use your slippers or whatever shoes you're gonna wear. Okay, and then this angle, just for all the kids at home, I don't really like. Just put a camera up in a stable position on the side, video, and that's the deal. It's fine. I mean, other than where the camera is placed and your footwear, that's fine. I see a little wiggle of the Eleiko logo on that second rep. Third rep didn't have it.
Yeah.
Lockout's fine. Your head position is changing during the lift, but I actually don't know if I would fix that because I don't think it matters. It's not, you know, something I routinely cue unless I feel like it's contributing to another error. And I can't see anything about your knees here or anything else, but these look pretty solid.
I think so too. There's not a whole lot I would fix there. If I had a different angle, maybe viewing from a similar kind of angle, oblique angle, but from the front, I might be able to get a better sense of, you know, whether his kind of knee positioning and his hip height are ideal. I wonder if he could, if his hips might be a tiny bit higher than they need to be.
Yeah, it could be. You'd expect to see the hips drop in that situation.
Or if he's just a lot stronger than this weight.
Exactly. Yeah. The weight's just not very heavy. Notice, and you can tell that because you see his back is perfectly straight, right? And most of the time when weight's challenging, you'll see some error. You don't.
Yeah.
So landscape, and then maybe from the front or front 45. That'll work. All right. Now, the reason we put this in here, I'm going to pause this so you guys can hear about this. This guy's 48. You got RA. They had some other, let's see, 48 with RA, other athletic injuries. He has problems getting his legs any further back. And this is 315.
His legs are pretty far back, it looks like to me.
Yeah. This is 315 for a single. So
that's pretty darn good.
I mean, yeah. So we'll check this out. Now.
So pause for 1 second, though. Right. So this guy has RA, and you notice he's wearing wrist wraps. And I wonder what active life folks would tell him to do with his wrist wraps.
Yeah, exactly.
This is how he's able to bench comfortably with his, because RA can affect all sorts of stuff in your hands and your grip and things like that. So
and stop your biologic. Because it's a Band-Aid.
It's a Band-Aid.
It's a Band-Aid.
Yeah. Wear the wraps, bench your 315 single, and be stronger than most other people your age.
Correct. So I'm jelly of your arch, bro.
That's impressive.
Yeah. I'm looking, it's hard to tell with the butt because I see like the orange band underneath a little bit. I don't know if the butt's actually coming up. Let's watch this again. It's close. So I would have to see directly from the side, but I would tell you to keep your butt down. The other thing, I thought this was tempo and like slowed down with the formatting.
Yeah.
But in the background, you can see people moving the things in normal speed.
Yeah.
So I think that the tempo is a consequence of the RA, likely.
Maybe.
I
mean, his overall technique, positioning, how he's positioning his forearms, and particularly notice his bar path on the concentric on the way up is perfect.
Yeah.
Going straight up and back towards the lockout position.
Yeah.
But I'm generally a fan of bringing down benches effectively as quickly as you can under control so that you don't end up sinking or bouncing off your chest. If you can bring it down quickly and decelerate it quickly at the pause, I generally like doing that myself, but I know other people have different opinions on that.
It's less fatiguing, I think, and then you're less likely to, because when you slow it down, you're eccentrically braking, and that costs energy and intra-set fatigue.
I recently sent some videos to some of my trainees of Jason Maninkau's benches, which are beautiful.
Yeah, he actually uses it as like a shock. He actually goes under sudden cardiac arrest, and then he goes clear, shocks himself.
Yeah, gives himself a precordial thump with the bar, and then systole contracts it and sends the bar back up.
Shout out to Jason.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's get into some of our stuff. This is me with 405. I just like that the barbell medicine shoe is the Adidas Power Perfect 2.
Yeah.
Shout out to Adidas for discontinuing that. So this is 405. I ended up doing this for 3 sets of 8. So this first set I have a narrower stance than the next set. And so if you look at my heels, particularly on the outside, they're coming up. And the deal is I can't get my knees far enough forward in this position to keep my foot flat. Also, kyphosis on point.
Yeah.
But, people are like, your high bar looks like a low bar. It's like, well, I have a, fairly short torso comparatively. I'm going to be more horizontal. My low bar looks more horizontal than that. So, what are you going to do, not squat?
Well, so I think that after that first set,
but
I talked to you about your stance, and
you just said move your stance out.
If your hips could tolerate changing it, and we got maybe a little bit less heels coming off the ground on subsequent sets.
Yeah, it doesn't feel. I mean, there's some apprehension with using this foot position because it does tend to bother my hips long term, which is why I adopted the narrower stance.
So definitely less heels coming up off the floor.
But you
on
see
these reps, but still a little bit.
It's like it seems like an artifact of angle and perhaps the shoe. I mean, that would happen with my Power Perfect 3s. But
you'd probably see less of it the higher the heel on the shoe.
Yeah, I agree. But actually, I hate a 1-inch heel. Yeah, I had the Lightstones. Yeah. So I'm fine. I mean, 405, beltless, sets of 8, high bar. Those quad gains. I like that your shorts are pulled up.
They stay pulled up.
Never down. Always hiked. 24/7. So this is what, 485? 490?
I think that was my second to last
warm up,
maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. Knee wraps. These are the one I think I wrapped, and I just, really tried to mess them up for you. I was trying to sabotage you.
Yeah, so you can see the wraps opening up as I hit the bottom.
Yeah, I just think you need to wrap them tighter if you're not going to crisscross like you were.
Yeah.
With that length of wrap and because it moves. It just moves on your leg because there's no rubber component to it. But, these are pretty good.
Look all right.
Yeah, deep. You can tell. If you can tell depth from the front, that's a good sign. I think I tried to rack you. Oh, and then you.
My reaction face from bumping the monster racks. Not a fan of the monster racks.
No, it's like, again, that may be the 5th Rogue product that they make. You're like, why you do this?
Yeah. So I think I nicked it again there on the way out.
Was this 505?
505.
505. Yeah, pretty good. We're just looking at your eyebrows, really, to check the exertion.
So this is something I point out a lot, and I'll be making a video on this soon, is if you just watch people's shoes while they're squatting.
Yeah, it's good.
If it's completely motionless shoe, you'll see no movement at all, which just reflects that I'm maintaining balance reasonably well. And that does not mean that I'm maintaining the bar perfectly over the middle of the foot, but
look at your temporalis, dude.
That the system is in balance.
Look, you got like a your superficial temporal arteries just. It was 330. This is my first set, so this was the worst set because I think I set up too close to the rack, which means I had to artificially keep the bar path a little forward to not nick the hooks, which you pointed out after the set.
Yeah, because Rogue hooks are pretty long.
Well, for this rack.
Well, even the ones that I have on my R3 are also pretty long.
Yeah. Yeah, besides the bar path thing, whatever. I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that the plate fell off behind you, and you're like, it's like we're in what is it, Indiana Jones, and the thing's crumbling. All right, so you guys can see my setup. So I spot my grip, take it, and then I'm gonna use the bar to like lever myself in position, plant my upper back and traps down, set my arch. This one I'm a little bit further out. I actually think the bar speed's a little better, but I could be making that up.
I think you started pressing it back better off your chest.
Well, I think you can do that because I'm further away from the rack. So yeah. I like that you nod. And I'm like, oh, wait, I got one more. Yeah.
Yeah.
You just shouldn't tell me how many reps I have. Just say, do another one. All All right, so this is Baraki. You're doing tempo work?
Yeah, I think this was one of my warm-up sets. Basically like aiming for a 3-0-0 kind of deal.
Why do you do that?
Because basically I found that my elbow doesn't really like benching like up to fairly high intensities all 4 training days a week.
Yeah.
But if I sub one of those out with tempo work that is inherently quite a bit lighter, then I can do that just fine. So this is with the football bar. Again, this is, it's not a perfect eccentric tempo. It's a little variable between some of the reps, but pretty slow on the way down, no pause on the chest, and then pressing it right up, and that felt fine.
Yep, you can use a metronome for those sort of things if you really want to make it. I mean,
Yeah.
Sometimes people do that, or have somebody else count.
I just don't think it matters that much.
No, I agree. I agree. But yeah, your thing about you're just using the variation to decrease the relative intensity. I mean, not for that movement, for the whole week.
So that I can continue benching more
Yeah.
without kind of irritating things, or making them more sensitized. Yeah.
Irritating.
Yeah.
All right, so check it out. If you have a burning question that you don't want to post on our forum, which is at barbellmedicine.com, you can click on the forum tab and ask us there. Send it to barbellaudio@gmail.com. If you want us to check your form, again, landscape, 1080p or higher, preferably. Have from the side, that's the best deal. From the side, whole lifter barbell unit in frame. Include your weight that you're moving, and we'll review it potentially. But anyways, thanks for tuning in. Subscribe for all the latest content, and comment below. Let us know what you want to see next. Thanks, guys.
See ya.